Once upon a time, in a small, peaceful village, there lived a man named Thomas. Thomas was a man of great wealth, but he was also incredibly greedy and miserly. Unlike many people who enjoyed their wealth, Thomas was obsessed with it. He didn't buy fine clothes, luxurious food, or build grand houses. Instead, he hoarded his fortune, hiding it away where no one could find it. In the garden behind his cottage, beneath the roots of an old oak tree, Thomas dug a deep hole. In that hole, he buried a wooden chest filled with gold coins and bars. Every day, without fail, Thomas would go to the spot, carefully dig up the chest, and count his gold. He would inspect each coin, counting them one by one to make sure no one had taken any. If even a single coin was missing, Thomas would panic and check every inch of his garden. This routine went on for years. Thomas never spent any of his gold. He would only bury it, take it out, and count it again. The villagers knew nothing of his secret stash. They only saw Thomas as an eccentric man who lived alone, never seeming to enjoy life, always preoccupied with his treasure. But one day, a thief named Peter came to the village. Peter was sly and observant. He noticed Thomas's strange behavior, how he always left his house at dawn, always went to the same spot in his garden, and always spent hours there. Peter grew curious. After a few days of watching Thomas from the shadows, Peter figured out what was happening. That man is hiding gold, Peter thought to himself. I bet he's burying it in that spot he keeps going to. So one night, when the moon was hidden behind thick clouds and the village was asleep, Peter quietly snuck into Thomas's garden. He dug up the chest of gold, took it, and vanished into the night. The next morning, Thomas woke up, as he did every day, eager to check his treasure. He hurried to the garden, his heart beating with excitement. But when he dug into the soil, his hands struck only emptiness. His chest of gold was gone. "No! No! No!" Thomas cried out, his voice filled with despair. He dug harder, tearing at the ground, but it was no use. The gold was gone. He sat on the ground, unable to believe it. His life's treasure had been stolen. Despair and anger consumed him, and he began to weep uncontrollably. His wails echoed through the village, waking up anyone nearby. One passerby, a traveler named William, heard Thomas's cries and approached the garden fence. "What's wrong, friend?" William asked, concerned. My gold is gone," Thomas sobbed, pulling at his hair. "Someone has stolen it. Who could do such a thing?" "Your gold?" William asked, puzzled. "You buried it in the ground?" Thomas nodded, his voice shaking. "Yes, I buried it there, so no one could find it. I counted it every day, but now it's gone. My gold, my precious gold." William raised an eyebrow. "Why didn't you keep the gold in your house? It would have been much easier to take care of, and you could have used it whenever you needed something." Thomas's face turned red with anger. "Use it? No! I never spent a single coin. I never wanted to part with it. I didn't even think of selling it." William sighed and picked up a stone from the ground. He tossed the stone into the hole where Thomas had buried his treasure. "Well," he said, "if you never used the gold, then the stone you buried is just as valuable as the gold you lost." Thomas stared at him, confused. "What do you mean? How can a stone be worth as much as my gold?" William smiled gently. "A thing that has no use is just as good as nothing at all. You buried your gold, and it brought you no joy, no comfort, no good. It was of no use to anyone, not even to you." Thomas stood there in silence for a moment, considering William's words. Slowly, the truth began to sink in. What good was gold if it was never used? What value did it have if it only sat in the ground, forgotten and untouched? William walked away, leaving Thomas alone with his thoughts. Over the next few days, Thomas reflected on his life. He realized how foolish he had been. He had spent all his time collecting gold, but he had never used it for anything meaningful. He had never helped anyone, never shared his wealth, and never enjoyed life. From that day on, Thomas decided to change. He no longer cared about hoarding gold. He used what little money he had to help others in need. He began to fix the houses of the poor villagers, bought food for the hungry, and helped the sick. Slowly, he became known as a kind and generous man. People no longer saw him as the miserly old man who kept to himself, but as someone who cared for his community. Though he never found his gold again, Thomas felt richer than ever before. The love and respect of the villagers were worth more than any treasure buried in the ground.